Welcome to Rachel Reviews Board Games. I'm Rachel, and today I am reviewing this Fantasy Flight game, Hey That's My Fish. Hey That's My Fish plays from 2 to 4 players, takes less than 20 minutes, and even though the box says, I believe, 8 and up, I've actually played this with people as young as 5. And believe it or not, even though 5-year-olds can play this game, I enjoy it. There's a legitimate criticism about it taking longer to set up than it does to play, but nonetheless it's still a great filler, and I will just open it up, explain how to play, and then at the end I will really expand a little further on why I like it so much. So without further ado, let's learn how to play. So here I have the game set up. The board is modular. It comes with these 60 ice flow tiles, as well as 4 penguins in each of these colors, and they're pretty cute. And each of, they each have a little animation of them holding fish and things like that. Kids really like that. And also on each of these ice flow tiles, there's either 1 fishes, 2 fishes, or 3 fishes, and they're worth the amount of fish that's on them. The goal of the game is to get the most fish. Now, the way you set it up for each board is that you do rows of 7, 8, 7, 8, 7, 8, 7, 8. Which is why it takes so long to set up. It's a little fiddly to do, and I've actually probably set it up a little more crammed than you would want to if you're playing, which you'll see why in a moment. I mentioned it plays from 2 to 4 players, so if you're playing with 2 players, everybody is going to place 2 penguins. If you're playing 3 players, everybody places 3 penguins. If you're playing 2 players, everybody places 4 penguins. And the way that you place penguins for the setup is that everybody, let's say we're doing 4 players, I'll just go through it. Everybody puts one of their penguins to start on any 1 fish. So worth 1 fish on it. So let's just do that real quick. Doot. And I'm not doing this, strategically, because there is a little bit of strategy to setting up the penguins, I've noticed. Not a huge amount, but it does make a difference. Okay. So let's do it like that. And then all you do on a given turn, let's say the red player starts, is you pick up your penguin and you can move it as far as you want in any direction along the hexagons. So it's not along the lines, it's along the edges like this. So any of the edges you go as far as you want, and once you move it, you pick up the fish of the tile just came from. And that's why I say it was a little crammed. It can be a little hard to pick these up. In fact, I've heard of some people including a little Nerf dart in their box so that they can pick up the tiles better. And so everybody goes, and then so green is next. And another important rule when it comes to these tiles, when you pick up the tile, you just put it in your supply to be counted at the end of the game. Now, you cannot pass any area that doesn't have a tile in it, so this yellow penguin couldn't go from here to here, and you also cannot jump over a penguin, so this blue penguin couldn't jump over this green penguin down here. So you do something like that, and that's the entire game. And as far as rules explanation, so I'm just going to give you my final thoughts. So as you can see, Hey That's My Fish isn't rocket science. I had looked at the gameplay, read the rules and whatnot when I was deciding what to get. I babysit a 6-year-old, what to get her for her birthday. She didn't like it as much as her 8-year-old brother, but as I mentioned too, my neighbors have a 5-year-old daughter, and I brought this out and played it with her. And what basically happens in the flow of the game is that as you're moving, there's a mad dash to get the 3, prioritizing those 3 fish tiles. But at the same time, you're decreasing the board. And the strategy is trying to trap yourself on a large ice flow, so you're the only penguin there, so at the end of the game you can just go, keep moving, bop, 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 and get all the fish, while trapping everybody else's penguins on smaller ice flows. And it's not hard, but it still requires more thinking in a filler game than perhaps a game like Love Letter or things like that. Maybe that's a bad example, but about setting it up, yes, the setup is almost as long as the game, but it's still short. It's not, and there's an essence of many hands make light work, as well as let's say someone's like, oh, I'm going to go up and get a soda. And it's like, okay, I'll be down here and I'll just set this up and it'll be basically set up by the time you get back. It's a game that's very difficult not to like, and I highly recommend it. For setup purposes, it'd be nice. I think on BBG they only had a printout board. I really wish they included a board that had hexes on it so you could place it on there, so that when things kind of shift as you're trying to pick things up, and it might be a little, I have small hands so it's okay for me, but people with fatter hands might have trouble picking up a tile without scooting things around. So it'd be nice if they included even just a fold up sheet of paper where you could place it so that when things shifted you could kind of move them back into place. I've seen people use poker chips with this, certain amount representing 1 fish, 2 fish, and 3 fish, and they work really well because you can kind of scooch them in and then they have a little place to pick them up plus a little weight, and then it's easy to do the same kind of adjacency as you do with the hexagon ones. But that's not going to be as interesting to kids, and you could just use any generic pawn. But that's a good way to see if you like it, just using poker chips, because as I mentioned before, I like to support the publishers if they create a game that I like. I'm really glad that they did make this cheap version though, because this, the Mayfair Deluxe version, while it looks really nice, I wouldn't want to pay $23 for a game like this that's so short to play and a little fiddly to pick up. And this is more like $12. I should really look this up before I do the reviews, how much they are if you get it from an online retailer. So I recommend this. I recommend it for kids, even though they don't quite get the strategy of isolating other players while getting more for themselves. They still understand, prioritizing 3 fish over 2 fish over 1 fish. And it's great for the whole family. I'd play this with adults. I don't need an excuse of having a child to play this game. It's still fun on its own, and I highly recommend it. Hey, That's My Fish by Fantasy Flight.